Good afternoon. I'd like to call this meeting of the Renfrew County Housing Corporation AGM. As we gather this afternoon, I would like to acknowledge on behalf of Council and our community that we are meeting on traditional territory of the First Nations. We would like to thank the Algonquin people and express our respect and support for their rich history. We are extremely grateful for their many and continued displays of friendship. We also thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. Has the roll call been taken?
Yes, thank you, Chair, and we have quorum.
Thank you. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof? Seeing none, we have the adoption of the minutes from June the 14th, 2023. Thank you. Mover, seconder. Moved by Killu, Haggerty, Richards, and Town of Petawawa. I can just barely see. Thanks. All in favor? Thank you. Next, we move to general business, and I'm going to turn this over to Director Patrick.
Thank you very much, Chair, and through you to the board. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Renfrew County Housing Corporation Annual General Meeting. We're very pleased to have our auditor here today, who in a few minutes will take you through some of the financials for 2023 and answer any questions that you may have with respect to that. This is an annual opportunity for the Renfrew County Housing Corporation to put together a really detailed report for the board on the activities that we have been involved with. I know that Mr. Davis and I and my staff and our staff have been working really diligently this year to make sure that we're collaborating and we're innovating and we're bringing some really great recommendations through to the board. So unfortunately, I will have to beg this board's forgiveness. We do not have the report prepared in full, but we will bring that to the August meeting, which will talk a little bit about the activities that we have been involved with, which have been quite a bit to date. And perhaps with your indulgence, Chair, I may just invite my colleague, Mr. Davies, to say a few words as well on this.
Please do.
Yeah, through you, Chair, and thank you very much, and good afternoon, everyone. Very interesting times for this group and RCHC and our whole division, the real estate division. You'll recall back in 2000 or earlier this year during the budget cycle, some of the challenges we're facing within this portfolio. With your support and County Council's direction, we have increased our RCHC staff for the maintenance and repair for our portfolio. I'm pleased to announce that I think we're at full complement right now, Kevin. One more. That's part and parcel of the process. So again, we have challenges in our portfolio. We're looking at how to address this. And one of the ideas and one of the thought processes was an expression of interest. We've talked about this expression of interest through a number of occasions, specifically at our housing summit that we had back in early April. I'm pleased to say at this committee, the date of closure of the submissions was last Friday. A good number of submissions, a little over 10. Currently, staff are reviewing each and every one to see how they can fit. What we'll have moving forward is that staff, again, through our MESA program, working collaboratively, will review the applications, see where they can best fit, rank them or categorize them in a best fit model, and bring it back to committee and council wherever they may fit, whether it's in the RCHC portfolio or the real property portfolio. But the push is for new and additional affordable, attainable housing units within Renfrew County. Some, I'll just kind of at a high level, one is a very grandiose submission. I'm not saying it's a good or a bad, but it's still grandiose. It could be a good thing though. I'll leave it up in the air, cliffhanger if I could. Overall, so far for the RCHC portfolio and the real property perspective of it, still challenging. We have challenging units. We have lots of issues with our aging infrastructure, but we're still making do where and when we can. And maybe I'll leave it at that, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. And through you, just wanted to say thank you to my colleague, Director Davis. I think, you can see that there's a fair bit going on within the corporation, and we will definitely have a fulsome report to bring back to the board in August. And now perhaps, Chair, we could invite our Treasurer, Mr. Burke, at the back of the room to introduce our auditor.
Yes, Mr. Burke.
Thank you, Chair, and good afternoon to the Renfrew County Housing Corporation Board. Very pleased to be joined by our audit partner, Lori Huber of KPMG Kingston, who, together with myself, will go through a couple your financial statements, and Lori is going to talk about her audit work as it pertains to this particular set of statements, which you can see on your screen now. So if I could maybe run through a couple highlights of your financial statements, and then Lori will possibly add to that and talk about her work. So just to point out that these financial statements are only for the separately incorporated entity known as the Renfrew County Housing Corporation. It has a single shareholder, that being the County of Renfrew. And this statement only deals with those Housing Corp assets, so the 1,000 and change units that are owned by the Housing Corp, not the other nonprofit units and the totality of the portfolio we would think of as social housing. So just those RCHC elements that are under that incorporated umbrella. So if I can go along to the first statement of financial position, so kind of the balance sheet, if you will, of a public sector entity. And I just wanted to point out one of the new items that would have not been there last year. This item for $17 million in your liability section called Asset Retirement Obligation. So management, myself, and the folks in real property have spent a considerable amount of time generating the estimate of this liability. In RCHC, this liability relates to asbestos inside the housing units we own and the estimated current cost it would take to remediate that asbestos. This estimate is based off of an asbestos impacting 178 buildings and approximately 700,000 square feet of our portfolio. So quite a bit of work went into this new estimate as required under a new standard for public sector accounting. Moving on to the statement of operations, just to sort of summarize the broad strokes of how RCHC operates, it's about a $15 million operation. About $5 million comes from tenant revenue, $5 million from Renfrew County base funding, and then another $5 million in other program funding. So it's almost a third under each of those programs. And then the only other thing that I wanted to highlight, just to show you the breakdown of your accounts receivable, particularly as it relates to tenant receivables. That's note number 4 in the very tall lettering on your screen, or very small lettering on your screen, sorry. So at the end of the year, we had approximately $200,000 receivable from tenants, and about 80 of that we viewed as uncollectible. So just to highlight, I know it comes up relatively regularly, the troubles with collections and the landlord-tenant board. That's the magnitude of the problem, about $200,000 outstanding, and about 80 of it we would view as not able to collect. And with that, that's all the notes I have, and possibly I'll turn it over to Lori and go back up to her presentation so she can walk through the work she did to audit those financial statements.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Through you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, everyone. It's my pleasure to be here to share with you the results of our audit for the fiscal year ended December 31, 2023. I dare say that Mr. Burke perhaps stole most of my thunder in terms of what is new and different as part of our audit findings, but that, I suppose, is the way it should go. So what we'll do is we'll start actually on page number 5, recognizing this report was pre-circulated. So hopefully you've had an opportunity to take a read through in terms of what was new and different. But I'll pause here with respect to the status of our audit. So this was pre-circulated as part of your package for today's meeting last week. So we did have a few items that were remaining. Those are now complete, happily to report, and really having the conversation here today with the board, recognizing that the financial statements will likely be approved at today's meeting, and today would then form the audit report date. And we'll see the draft audit report later on in this package. So on page number 6 and page number 7, these typically would be shared at the start of an audit, but I wanted to include them this year just to give yourself a sense of how we scope an audit and how we execute an audit. So materiality is very much an important concept that really sort of sets the stage for the size and scope in terms of the detailed work that we execute in our audit. We are bound by certain parameters in the handbook, and that's where if we take you to page number 7 of our report, you will see for an organization such as yourselves, we look at the benchmarks being either total revenues or total expenses, and then we can take a percentage of those amounts to come up with our overall financial reporting materiality. So I've given you lots of numbers and percentages on the screen, but really the summation here is that we can go anywhere between 0.5% to 3%. That's what the handbook allows us to do. Consistently this year compared to the previous year, recognizing last year was our first year of the audit, we were sitting this year at about 2.7%, so just below that 3% mark. And what that meant is we have completed now our audit in accordance with the overall financial reporting materiality of $400,000, which is essentially the same as we had executed our audit for fiscal 2022. Moving along in the next slide, again, this would normally be provided as part of our planning, but I wanted to share with the group in terms of the items that we've considered through the course of our audit. What you will see here on this page are 2 items that should jump out at you that have significant risk. So a financial statement audit at KPMG continues to be very much a risk-based audit. So what that means is we stand back looking at the financial statements as a whole and trying to identify where we believe there's a greater risk of material misstatement occurring, and certainly fleshing out an audit plan to mitigate those risks. What we did identify that was unique this year, and as Mr. Burke has nicely articulated, a very, very large amount was sitting on the balance sheet this year related to the implementation of a new accounting standard. So we've just heard that amount was $17 million relative to an overall financial statement reporting materiality of $400,000. So we did spend a lot of time and effort making sure that we were comfortable with the management process that they undertook to come up with that determination. Recognizing it is an estimate and it is based on the current information available today, and that will be revisited at future financial reporting dates as we move through subsequent years. The other piece on the page here is not to mention any specific alarm bells really for your organization, but baked into any financial statement audit in Canada. The first row there is a presumed risk of fraud related to management's potential to override controls, which is a required consideration from the profession in all financial statement audits. And when you have any presumed risk of fraud, it's automatically deemed to be significant. So that would have existed in the previous year, requires us to do the same amount of work relative to that risk in each fiscal year. So you will see actually on the next slide, which gives you a little bit of flavor of the work that we completed in terms of our response to that risk. And really the story here to share with you at the bottom of the page there is our findings in that regard, which there are none to note. We do spend time looking at all of the general journal non-routine entries that culminate into the financial statements at the end of the year, just to make sure that they are reasonably supported, they have the appropriate segregation of duties and controls that you would expect to see in the financial reporting process. Moving along, I won't spend a lot of time here. It did take up 2 pages of our findings, but I think Mr. Burke has articulated it nicely to say that the new accounting standard related to asset retirement obligations has been adopted. They did follow a process, I would say fairly consistent with our expectation. And leading into that analysis, there was lots of conversations, both with ourselves as the audit team, along with some of our specialized services around accounting advisory to make sure that management were undertaking an appropriate process to ultimately land on a reasonable figure in that regard. So really no findings to share with you with respect to that. You will have seen the note disclosures in the financial statements. There are a lot this year that speaks to the accounting changes, but certainly comfortable with what is included there, and it's certainly consistent across the sector as well. Page number 12, as we move along, just a reminder to the group, we are required as your external auditor to share with you any findings that we might have relative to the internal controls of our financial reporting. You can see here, consistent with the previous year, certainly nothing has been identified from our perspective from a significant deficiency point of view, but I am glad that Mr. Burke had identified the conversation that we would have had a year ago at this table in terms of one of our observations related to the quality of your accounts receivable with respect to certain tenant accounts. Recognizing, I think it's fair to say, since the pandemic and afterwards from the pandemic, the credit risk and the quality of receivables, I would say, consistently across all housing corps. I've seen a lot of housing corps actually over the last few weeks, and I would say it's all very much a similar theme, but certainly management are very much aware of that observation and working hard to mitigate that risk to an acceptably low level. The next couple of pages share with you some of the other new items that are included in your financial statements. The second biggest one, I would say, would be the financial instruments piece. And as you look through the financial statements, they certainly are longer than the previous year. And at the back, you will see there are new requirements this year to address any financial risks. So things like liquidity risk, things like interest rate risk, things like credit risk, those are all nicely articulated in the notes to the financial statements. This year, relative to this new standard, didn't actually change the numbers per se, just the disclosures. And again, consistent with what we're seeing across the sector, and really no comments to make in that regard. And those will carry on in future years' financial statements as well. Jumping ahead a few slides, if we stop briefly on page number 15, this is a new slide in our deck this year as part of our audit findings, just as a good reminder for all of the conversations that we as your external auditor should be having with yourselves related to those charged with governance in terms of your role and the things we should be having conversations about to the extent any of these matters exist. So you can see here, in terms of our findings, no significant items to report, but had there been any items, we would have been required to share those with you. As we move along, as your external auditor, we need to be mindful of our independence. We have not provided any non-audit services to the corporation through the course of the year, so there's nothing there that might be thought to encroach on our independence, which we are required to reaffirm with yourselves at least once annually. So moving into the back of the report, which we've tucked in nicely on Appendix 1A, which is our draft auditor's report. I've included a copy here in our report, along with the start of the financial statements that have been prepared by management. You will see here, it is in draft, subject to final approval, but it is a clean opinion for fiscal 2023, where we state in our opinion, we believe the financial statements do present fairly in all material respects the financial activities for fiscal 2023. What is new and different this year is the fact that we are required to alert a user of the financial statements to the fact that comparative information has been restated, specifically related to that asset retirement obligation. So if you're looking at your balance sheet this year, you will see 17 million in the current year along with the previous year because the previous year has been restated. If you were to look at the 2022 financial statements, that $17 million amount would not have been there. So this is the bridge for the gap to say why those two pieces are different. So this happens in a transition year, and that is perfectly normal and perfectly expected in this instance. And then the second paragraph, just on the next slide at the top of page number 20, is a follow-on to that to say, to the extent the previous year's financial statements are restated as part of the current year audit, we are required to audit those pieces as well, which we've now done, and you can see no impact to our audit opinion. That really takes me to the highlights of what I wanted to share with you today. So maybe perhaps, Madam Chair, I'll turn things back to you and welcome any questions from the group.
Yes, I believe we have a question from the councillor from Killaloe Haggerty Richards.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the presentation. My question would be in regards to the asset management of the 17 million. Can you explain to us, sort of in English, where it came from and what's the repercussions of where it's going?
So, Madam Chair, I'm not sure if that question is directed to myself or whether it's directed to Mr. Burke.
Perhaps I could ask.
How about you?
So I think you is me.
Yes.
Sorry.
The question, yes,
okay,
the question
wonderful.
is for you.
Okay, great. So here's what I will try to say what asset retirement really comes down to. There's a requirement under the new standard to say in today's dollars, what are the requirements under specific legislation that I will be required to do for those assets in my portfolio. So for example, we have asbestos. In your case, the amount of asbestos has been quantified across the portfolio, and at some point in the future, that will be remedied. What that means is that it's based on the best information available today. So the dollars could change and that will fluctuate in future years, but it's putting that liability on the books that previously didn't exist. It will likely be different at some shape or form in some point in the future, but that's the best estimate in today's dollars that has never been required. It's not necessarily, I think where it gets interesting, it's not necessarily a cash number to worry about today or tomorrow, and it will sit as sort of a debit within your accumulated surplus as an unfunded liability. That's a question I would say I get a lot from municipalities and council to try to understand it. It's very similar to the concept of employee featured benefits, whereby employees will provide service today and they will receive benefits in the future that needs to be on the books today. So I don't know if that helps sort of put it into context. In terms of asset management plan, it is very much helping to marry up some of those pieces as well that would be part of a long-term capital plan. And maybe Mr. Burke, you could maybe articulate further on that piece of it in terms of what you're doing locally.
Yeah, for sure. And that was a great explanation, Lori. So I would say where that number is going, or how we view or how we deal with our asset retirement obligation, is in your budget cycle when you're looking at, say you had budgeted to rebuild or reconstruct one of your units in the housing corp. If that unit was asbestos impacted, your budget for that demolition or rebuild would be much higher than a unit that wasn't asbestos impacted, and that's where we meet that obligation. And Mr. Raditz meets that daily in his repairs, is that these repairs are much more expensive than they otherwise would be because of this obligation. And once we remediate, then it would come off of our liability if we know we've remediated that building. So that's sort of how we deal with it day to day outside of the public sector accounting standards.
Yes, Councillor.
Just a follow-up. So in other words, would we be able safe to say that this is a remedy fund? So like in case, like a landfill situation where in case the building is taken care of or demolished, that fund is there to access? Would that be safe to say that?
Through you, Madam Chair, I don't know if that question is for me, but I can certainly take the first cut at it. So I would say it's not really a fund because it's not dollars to extinguish that liability, but what it's going to do is secure your P&L in the future to the extent those costs are incurred. So what I mean by that is you've essentially now gone from a cash basis of accounting to an accrual basis of accounting. So to the extent you remedy a building next year and it's $100,000, that $100,000, for lack of a better term, not everything else being equal, you wouldn't have an expense of $100,000 because you'd be able to pull the 100 from this liability. So it's not really a fund per se, because you're still going to have to fund the actual cost of doing it, but it's going to preserve your income statement. Does that make sense?
Thank you.
Mr. Burke, do you have anything else to add?
Nope, that was perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Councillor from Whitewater Region.
Thanks, Chair. Just on that same theme, I have some other questions, but just to stay on this theme, I just want to make sure that it's clear in my mind to reduce that liability. When we were briefed earlier on renovations with asbestos, it was indicated that we couldn't necessarily track each and every renovation. So would this liability only disappear on a demo? Or, because if we do a renovation, we're not tracking which portions of buildings have been renovated with that. At least that's what I remember from last time. Can we clarify that?
Sure. I can, through you, Madam Chair, take the first cut at that one as well. So interestingly enough, the accounting for the asset retirement obligation doesn't end now when you've implemented it. And what I mean by that is there's quite a detailed listing to culminate into that $17 million. So the team will need to, in the future, as they are executing some of that work, making sure they have a subledger, if you will, of the detail to make sure that the liability is being implicated as it should, depending on the level of and the types of activities that the corporation is completing. Hopefully that makes sense.
Thank you. And to the Councillor Petawawa, please.
Thank you, Chair, and through you, I guess we'll just keep this theme rolling here. Just so I understand, so the 17 million, is that just for the asbestos portion, or is that for the entire renovation of all the housing units that we have, and the asbestos portion is inside that 17 million?
Through you, Madam Chair, that $17 million amount is just the remediation, not the renovation.
Yes, Councillor from Whitewater Region.
Sorry, and I apologize. You're not doing a bad job of explaining this. You're not. We're not absorbing it. So I just want to get clear in my mind. We have 1,000 units. In those 1,000 units, you've indicated it's about 700,000 square feet that has asbestos in it, safe to use, but it has asbestos in it that will need to be addressed when we either renovate or demolish and replace. The cost to demolish and or replace that, to deal with that asbestos in those 700,000 square feet, is forecasted to be $17 million. Good. How are we funding the $17 million? Is it in our asset management plan? Or is this an expense that when it comes up, we'll pay it as an unforecasted expense?
So
I believe that goes to Mr. Burke.
Yeah, through you, Chair. So in our asset management plan, where we have planned to do renovations to a housing unit, we have forecasted the estimate of that cost to include any asbestos abatement we would have, right? That's our asset management plan. What do we think it would cost to do this? Now, that said, the demolition or major overhaul of housing units is not forecast in our asset management plan. Most of our asset management plan as it relates to housing deals with roofs and things of that nature. You'll recall that we have a BCA study for building conditions that will probably guide us down the path of beginning a more substantive overhaul of our housing units. I think we've been talking about that for a while, about the state of them, and that we will probably begin to put onto our asset management plan substantial renovations. And when we cost those renovations, we would then include the costing of this asbestos abatement as we meet it. And that's how we would expunge that liability when we finally renovated the last of those 700,000 square feet of units.
Is that satisfactory answer?
Yeah, that's perfect. It gives me a much better idea of. So this plus the BCA will create the asset management plan that we can use to fund it, plus the replacement of the future buildings. Good. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions from? Seeing none. Oh, excuse me. Go ahead.
Sorry, no more on the asbestos.
Okay.
That's all right.
All right.
But
You're moving to a different topic.
Yes, if that's all right. I just wanted to come back to, and I apologize, the slide that Daniel introduced when it showed the revenues. He talked about $5 million revenues from 3 different pots, provided the overall revenue. And I guess maybe not a question, Lori. I'm just curious, the $5 million that's sourced through upper tier funding, which I believe Daniel mentioned, Do we have a comparator of that across other housing corporations? Do we have an idea how much of our upper tier tax dollars are being put into our housing relative to other upper tiers with similar housing?
Through you, Madam Chair, that is a good question. And to be honest, I'm not equipped to answer that one on the spot, but I could certainly do some digging and some comparisons to provide something back through Mr. Berg.
One more question.
Good. Last question is just the doubtful, and I don't know if that's the correct name, but the $80,000 that we have forecasted as not being able to be receivable. I'm assuming that is a clear, complete write-off. I'll back up. $240,000 is a receivable. We're expecting that we're going to probably get back $160,000 and not get back 80. So we've got to basically dismiss that we'll ever see that. I'm assuming that in the 160 that we do get back from that accounts receivable, some of that is we funded it ourselves from other agencies. So in some cases we funded it through a homelessness prevention program or some other granting system that would be able to subsidize that rent for that individual based on the individual circumstances. That's captured in the 160 but not in the 80 is the question.
So through you, Madam Chair, that would be, yes, anything that was not funded. Because if it was funded, it would no longer be in the receivables. And so yes, that would be the net amount. I can share with you, interestingly enough, your provision, which again is another estimate in the financial statements. It's not a perfect science by any stretch. It's meant to provide some judgment in terms of what will be potentially a write-off in the future. It's not written off yet, it's provided for. So it's still sitting there in the accounts to be actively collected. I will share with you, even though your balance has gone up about 100%, I've seen a few other housing corps of late that their actual percentage is actually much larger than that, which does seem high to begin with. So it's an interesting concept, I think, across housing corps, and I think it's a consistent struggle as well, which we're seeing in the financials.
Thank you so much. Appreciate the opportunity to ask the questions.
Yes, I thank you as well. Do we have any other questions? All right, seeing none, I believe that we move to our recommendation today. Yep.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to the board. So may I go ahead and read the recommendation?
Yes, please.
Recommendation is that the draft auditor's report for the Renfrew County Housing Corporation for the year ended December 31st, 2023 be approved.
Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by the Township of Killaloo Haggerty Richard and from Whitewater Region. All in favor? Thank you. It is passed. And thank you, Ms. Do we have another question? Okay.
Nope. No, I think I'm good. I just wanted to say a really big thank you for your attention here today, and a really big thank you on behalf of all of my team to say thank you very much to Mr. Burke's team for being fully cooperative and very responsive to our many requests through the course of the audit.
And thank you for attending today.
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right, next on our short agenda, is there any new business? Seeing none, we will move to an adjournment. Mover and seconder. All right, moved Town of Petawawa and seconded by Killaloo Haggerty Richards. All those in favor? Thank you. And now we will move to the Renfrew County Housing Corporation agenda. Roll call, I presume no one has left the room yet? Okay. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof? Seeing none. The adoption of the minutes of May 15th, 2024. I don't have this right here on me here. Yeah. Yeah. Can I have a mover and seconder, please? Moved by Township of Whitewater, seconded by the councillor from the town of Petawawa. All those in favor? Thank you. Carried. And we have no delegations at this time. I'd like to move to the director's report with Ms. Patrick.
Thank you again, Chair, and
Thank you.
through you to the board. The director's report starts on page 6 of your electronic package. And Chair, I have 2 information items. Both of them relate to the capital projects and our new build. And with your permission, I'd like to invite Mr. Raditz to overview those items.
Yes, please.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to the board. So in the attached appendix is just an update in the status of the current projects for 2024. As you can see in the spreadsheet, there's 3 projects completed to date, 100% complete. But I'd like to make mention of one of the key projects being 202 Cecil, which was completed last month. And maybe I'll just ask Tina if you can just show a couple of pictures of this project. So that is definitely a good news story. And so in essence, this unit is ready for occupancy within the next couple of weeks, I guess for July 1st, and Ms. Patrick's team would confirm that. But yeah, so it's definitely a good news story. And second part of that is came in under budget. And third good news, there's no asbestos in it. So item number 2 is just an update on the new build at Lee Street. And of course, we're about at 98% complete there. The contractors are just finishing up some deficiencies, which we anticipate that should be complete June 21st. And occupancy for that building would be probably the beginning of August. And Chair, that's the end of the report.
Thank you. I think that's something to be proud of. We're singing your praises. Ms. Patrick? Oh, are there any questions to Mr. Raditz? No, quiet bunch.
There you go. Thank you, Chair, and thank you to Mr. Raditz. So I have 2 resolutions, Chair, and may I go ahead and read the first recommendation?
Yes, please.
So the recommendation is that the Renfrew County Housing Corporation, RCHC, Board of Directors repeal corporate policy RCHC 02, procurement of goods and services, and that the RCHC be subject to the County of Renfrew corporate policy GA-01, procurement of goods and services, as a wholly consolidated municipal service corporation of the County of Renfrew.
Do I have a mover and seconder, please? Moved by the councillor from Killaloe Haggerty Richards and seconded by the councillor from Petawawa. Any discussion? Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. And I'll just provide some brief background to the board just to augment what's in your report. And just to note that historically, the RCHC has always held its own procurement policy. However, with the increasing collaboration and integration work being done between Director Davis's team and the Community Services team, staff's recommendation is that the RCHC separate procurement policy be repealed and that the sole County of Renfrew procurement policy be used for all construction projects for the sake of simplicity and ease of administration. Thank you.
Now, any questions? Yes, councillor from Whitewater.
Question, Chair, and it may go to the CAO, but the delegations authorities, do they follow suit with an MSC like this as well?
Through you, Chair, yes, they will. Yep.
Seeing no more questions. I think we go back to Ms. Patrick for a change. Oh, I'm sorry, call for the vote. All those in favor? Thank you. I'm going between some paper and maybe the wrong page on here. And I believe next is also from Ms. Patrick, is going to remind us about a meeting location change.
Yes, thank you, Chair, and through you to the board. So this item is yes, with respect to the meeting location for the August board meeting. May I go ahead and read the recommendation?
Yes, please.
Thank you, Chair. The recommendation is that the August 2024 meeting of the Renfrew County Housing Corporation Board be held at Miramichi Lodge in Pembroke.
Move and second. Moved by the councillor from Petawawa, second by the councillor from Whitewater. All those who are in favor? Thank you. I didn't think there'd be any discussion on that one. And last but not least, we go to Manager of Community Housing Monthly Report with Ms. Dombrowski.
Sorry,
Thanks.
excuse me.
Yeah, go ahead. I was going to say, we just need a report as a whole, vote.
Oh, I'm sorry.
move.
And the report as a whole. All those in favor? Thank you.
Sorry, we don't have a mover and a seconder yet for the motion.
Oh. No, I don't have much choice. Moved by councillor from Whitewater and seconded by the councillor from Killaloe Haggerty Ridges. All those in favor? Thank you. Passed. Now we'll move to Ms. Dombrowski.
Good afternoon. My report begins on page 10 of your package with one information item that provides an update regarding the development of the 10-year housing and homelessness plan. We are at the stage of consulting with the public through two strategies, the first being a community survey, and the second being a series of consultations that include targeted consultations, which will seek to gather information from County of Renfrew staff, nonprofit housing providers, the business community, Renfrew County Housing Corporation tenants, people with lived or living homelessness experiences, and the general public. For your information, on page 11 of the report, there is a calendar of events that are open to the public, starting with Tuesday, June 18th at 6 p.m. here at 9 International Drive within Council Chambers, and this session is for the business community. And on Wednesday, June 19th, starting at 5 p.m. at the Renfrew Legion, we'll provide an opportunity for the public in that area to consult. In Pembroke, again, on Thursday, June 20th, there'll be an opportunity for public engagement at 5 p.m. at Algonquin College. And on Friday, June 21st, starting at 5 p.m., there'll be an opportunity for the public to provide feedback at the Empire Legion. We're very excited about how things are progressing. To let you know that as of yesterday, when we spoke with the consultant, we had well over 500 responses from the survey. When the consultant is meeting with the targeted members and the public, they will provide a brief update as to what they have heard to date from the feedback that they've received so far, as well as an overview of what a housing and homelessness plan is, and they will guide the public and the target group through an exercise of collecting opinions and values and suggestions, all of which will be presented to this board throughout, I believe over at August would be our earliest opportunity to do that. I just wanted to also provide you with a rough timeline for steps moving forward. So through the month of May, we began work with formulating the survey and formulating our approaches to communicate with the public. And then through the month of June is when we launched the survey and organized our consultation sessions. At the beginning of July, the consultant will start to draft the next 10-year housing and homelessness plan, and they will provide us with a first written draft of the plan at the beginning of August, and they are asking for us to provide feedback on the plan by mid-August. And the hope is to have a plan roll up in the month of September. Thank you, and with that, that concludes my report.
Are there any questions, concerns? Seeing none, we can move to new business. Thanks, Ms. Dombrowski. It took me a while to get it up here, but I thank you. Is there any new business? Oh,
Sorry, we need a mover and a seconder for the
thank
report.
you. Thank you. We need a mover and seconder. Again, I have a big choice. The counselor from the town of Petawawa and the counselor from Whitewater. All those in favor? Thank you. And thanks for the prompts. I see no new business. We do not have closed at this time. And the date of the next meeting is Wednesday, August 14th, and I believe this is, yeah, okay. Would you like to speak? Would you like to speak to that we are going to Miramichi? Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I will thank in advance our Director of Long-Term Care, Mr. Blackmore, for hosting the next meetings of both Health Committee and Community Services Committee and the Renfrew County Housing Corporation Board at Miramichi Lodge. And I know that Mr. Blackmore and his staff have agreed to take any of the elected and staff who are interested on a tour of their facility and to learn a little bit about the butterfly model of care. So we look forward to the next meeting being located at Miramichi Lodge. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. We have no closed meetings at this time, and so we will all see you at Miramichi. Yes. Yeah. We have a motion to adjourn, please. Sorry, I don't see it, but anyway, we have a motion to adjourn. Councillor from Killaloe, Haggerty Richards, Councillor from Petawawa. All those in favor? Thank you. Carried. We can call to order. Oh, no, we can't. We just lost somebody. I'm not quite as diligent as they expect me to be. Feel free to take a short break at this time. Thank you. I'd like to call the meeting of the Community Services Committee to order. We have everybody back. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof? Seeing none, we'll move on to the adoption of minutes of May 15th, 2024. Can I have a mover and seconder, please? Moved by the councillor in Petawawa and seconded by the councillor from Whitewater. All those in favor? Thank you. And we have, we need this adoption of the closed minutes from May 15th, 2024. I need a mover and seconder to approve the closed minutes. Thank you, Councillor from Petawawa and Councillor from Whitewater. We have no delegations at this time, and I'd like to move to the... Sorry. Oh, all in favor. I'm sorry, I'm still watching Diligent go around in circles here. Thank you, as am I right now. I'd like to move now to the Community Services Director's report, please. Ms. Patrick?
Thank you, Chair, and through you to the committee. Good afternoon again. My report for this committee starts on page 6 of your package. And information item number 1 is the substance use related harms dashboard. So the Renfrew County District Health Unit has created an interactive dashboard called Substance Use Related Harms in Renfrew County and District. And the dashboard provides community agencies and partners and individuals with an overview of some of the opioid-related trends in Renfrew County. So specifically, they're tracking data around opioid overdose-related emergency department visits to local hospitals, opioid-related deaths, and suspect drug poisonings. And the website will be updated on a quarterly basis, and I've included the link in your package for committee's information. Item number 2 is regarding our new MESA coordinator. So I'm very, very pleased today to introduce at the back of the room Barb Tierney. Barb is our new MESA coordinator. We are very pleased to have her joining our team. Barb comes to us with a lot of background in community services, in community paramedicine, in government relations, in policy, and she has quickly become indispensable to us and has been working very hard on helping the community services, emergency services, and development and property departments align our systems and our data approaches in order to implement many of the MESA initiatives. So she started with us on the 27th of May, and I'm sure that we feel that she's been here for a long time already, because there has been certainly a lot of work that we have moved over onto her plate. I think this committee is aware of all the various initiatives that are going on under the MESA umbrella, and so very pleased to welcome her here today. Item number 3 is an update for this committee on the National Housing Strategy funding. So I've included the most recent memo from the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing, and it was dated May 30th, 2024, from the Assistant Deputy Minister. And that memo advises that they have, the provincial and federal governments have come to a new agreement under the National Housing Strategy. And with that agreement, we are going to be able to move forward with the programs that are funded under that bilateral agreement. So those include the Canada-Ontario Housing Initiative, or COCHI, the Ontario Priority Housing Initiative, OP, as well as the Canada-Ontario Housing Benefit, or COB. So a few details to note. The memo does indicate that as part of some of the changes with the new agreement, there will definitely be a focus on new projects and having service managers direct funding to new projects. There will also be some very structured goals and data collection and reporting that will be part of the new agreement. So some very structured measurement tools that will be incorporated into that new agreement. So at this time, we are waiting to hear final details and confirming the previously announced funding allocation amounts. As the memo indicates, we should hear on that very shortly, but really pleased to see that a new agreement was reached and that these funds should be forthcoming through these important programs very soon. Moving on to item number 4, really excited about our Community Services Annual Staff Day, which will be taking place tomorrow. This is an annual event where we have all of our offices are closed and we have staff brought together for important training and professional development that we can undergo together as a team. So at this year's event, it will be taking place at Sandpoint Golf Course in Braeside tomorrow, and we have a consultant that will be coming to deliver some comprehensive training for our staff on childhood trauma and its impacts throughout the lifetime. So it's Miss Mary Hewitt, who will be delivering the training. She has a very diverse background and comes with a very high regard from many of our staff who have attended previous training sessions with her, and we know that we'll be able to learn a lot from her tomorrow. We're also going to take the opportunity as a management team to, share information with all of our staff around, some of the work that is being done collectively with the group on MESA initiatives and some of the strategic alignment of our programs that we will be looking at with all staff in order to be successful with some of the MESA initiatives. So we look forward to that tomorrow. And item number 5 in my report is an update on the Pembroke Area Warming Centre Committee. So the Pembroke Area Warming Centre Committee held its last meeting on June 5th, and the committee was formed throughout the period of time that the warming centre was in operation, which was from December 1st, 2023 to April 18th, 2024. As this committee is aware, there was a warming centre that was operated out of an ATCO trailer at the Farmers Market in Pembroke, and it was funded through by municipal partners as well as fundraising efforts through the Grind, and the committee was formed to ensure diverse input and transparency over the operations of the warming centre as well as the funding and the financials to operate the centre. So as the centre is now closed, the committee has been dissolved, and a final report will come back to this committee at the August meeting that will include some recommendations for next steps. And thank you, Chair. Maybe I'll stop there. That is the end of my information items. I'll stop before resolutions.
Thank you. Are there any questions or concerns from the report? Yes, Councillor?
Thank you, Chair, and through you. So I understand that the warming centre has been closed and the committee has been dissolved, but should there be a need next year for something similar, will the committee as it stands just be reformed, or will there be a brand new committee?
Thank you, Chair, and through you to Councillor Service. Yes, the warden indicated at the meeting and was discussed with the community partners that were in attendance that if there was a need, that the committee could be stood back up again, next winter. I think, again, we'll review the recommendations at the August meeting that will come out of that committee, but certainly one of the recommendations that was discussed at the table was just around some of the next steps before next winter being communicated with all in a very timely manner, and that's something certainly that we're working on with respect to all of our county departments in MESA and hope to have a more comprehensive plan to share with everybody very soon.
Thank you. Yes, Councillor from Whitewater.
Thank you, Chair. And no questions for the first 4 items, but just on the 5th one, the same theme as Petawawa. The Grind is currently the only not-for-profit. Is it currently the only not-for-profit entity that's organized to provide support to homeless right now? And is there others in other locations, Renfrew, Arnprior locations? And only if you know
Yes.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to Councillor Nicholson. I think that The Grind is the only nonprofit organization that is directly delivering homeless services. We have a number of nonprofit agencies in the community that are working on supporting vulnerable people that may be experiencing homelessness, including, of course, our food banks and other community agencies that provide, clothing and other items. But I think The Grind is the only nonprofit that is directly delivering homeless services or indicating that that's the mission of their nonprofit. I hope that helps.
Yes, Councillor?
Thank you, Chair. And that's perfect. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing out on somebody. And even though that our warming center committee is now dissolved, we still have open and direct communications with the staff at this organization, as with the others may not be so focused on that, but they have direct access into the resources that are available at the county, at least.
Thank you, Chair, again, and through you to Councillor Nicholson. Absolutely, yes. I think, we have a number of tables that are that we're meeting on to talk about objectives for supporting individuals that are experiencing homelessness. And I think, perhaps, as Ms. Muldoon reviews her report, she will be, speaking about some of them and about some of those tables that are in operation and some of the activities. So we certainly are not concerned that we are not connecting with those who are working towards the same initiatives that we are. We're certainly well connected with our community partners and community agencies and work in a really collaborative fashion.
Thank you. Any other? With that, I believe Community Service Committee as a meeting location recommendation.
Thank you, Chair. And again, yes, through you to the committee. If I may, I'll read the recommendation.
Yes, please.
Thank you. So the recommendation is that the August 2024 meeting of the Community Services Committee be held at Miramichi Lodge.
Questions, concerns? All those in favor? Oh, yes. Mover and seconder. Mover, Killaloo Haggerty Richards, and all right, the councillor from Petawawa. Are there any questions about that? Seeing none, all those in favor? Thank you. I believe we go next to Community Supports Division report and Ms. Muldoon.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to committee. Good afternoon, everybody. The Community Supports Division report begins on page 11 of your package. The first information item I have today is just regarding a recent invitation that our community services staff have received to participate and hold a seat at the Ottawa Valley, Ontario Health Team Mental Health, Addictions, and Substance Use Health Network meeting. So this is a group of individuals and service providers who provide supports in the areas of mental health and substance use health, and they're meeting on a monthly basis to discuss issues and strategies related to services for this group. So we're really excited to hold a seat at this table and continue to be informed on what's happening in that area. Information item number 2 is regarding the grand opening of the new Youth Wellness Hub Ontario in Renfrew. So the Youth Wellness Hub Ontario, often referred to as YHU, officially opened their permanent location in Renfrew on May 3rd with a grand opening ceremony. So this new location is at the MyFM Centre in Renfrew, and this program is delivered by Addiction Treatment Services through the Renfrew Victoria Hospital and provides addiction support, mental health support, and another wide range of activities for youth aged 12 to 25 in the community. So our community services staff were really excited to attend the grand opening event. They have a location here in Pembroke as well, and we have community services staff attending both locations on a monthly basis in order to connect with the youth that are attending those centers and engage with the staff about services that we provide. Information item number 3 is just an update to this committee about our Mesa gathering that was held on May 22nd here in Pembroke at the Miramichi Lodge. Again, really happy and thankful to Director Blackmore for offering his space, and his staff were incredibly welcoming of our group. We had over 140 participants representing over 30 service agencies in the areas of mental health, substance use, and homelessness. The event was started off the day by receiving some information from some excellent keynote speakers, including two people with lived experience who shared their stories and path to recovery. The afternoon ended with a World Cafe exercise where it was our engagement activity and an opportunity for us to hear directly from those in attendance about what programs and services they would like to see as we move forward. So we have some county staff working on collecting all of that information and hope to bring back a report of recommendations into the fall. Information item number 4 is just regarding some community services outreach initiatives, and perhaps this will give some additional context to the question that you had asked earlier. So just, we've had a lot of conversations in our committee meetings recently about some of the barriers that people are facing with regards to high costs for transportation, for food insecurity, and all of this. So our community services staff are doing a lot of work right now getting out into the community. So we're attending the grind on a regular basis, on a weekly basis, in fact, where we're connecting with those individuals and staff. We're attending in the Renfrew area, the Renfrew and Area Connection Center, which is another, it's operated by the OPP, and it's just a drop-in center to provide a kind of a hub type of service where they can access, anybody can come in and access mental health supports, community services supports, and other agencies are dropping in there as well. We are attending Employment Ontario locations across the county, supporting our job-seeking clients to ensure that they're getting connected to benefits, ensure that we're sharing information with staff at those locations. And most recently, we were invited to attend a Connect Well community health clinic, which was some pop-up clinics that were hosted by Connect Well, and they were offered in the evening in Beachburg, Cobden, and Eganville. So our staff attended those sessions to support people who are looking for services outside of regular business hours. My last information item is just an update to, or an extension of a memorandum of understanding that we have in place with Built for Zero Canada. So in April of 2021, we had signed into an agreement, April of 2022, we signed an agreement which ended as of March 31st, 2024. And there's an appendix included in this report that just indicates that we've extended that service with Built for Zero Canada. So they're providing us with some really good leadership and direction on proper data collection for our people who are experiencing homelessness, and helping us to use that data to inform programs and services that we want to deliver in our community. That concludes my report, Chair.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments for Ms. Muldoon? Yes, Councillor from Petawawa.
Thank you, Chair, and through you. It's exciting to hear about the Youth Wellness Hub in Renfrew, and I know it's only been a month, but can you share with us, are there any early success stories? How's it going? Attendance, things like that?
I don't have anything about any early success stories other than the attendance really has been fantastic. I think we've attended now, this will be our 3rd month in June, and our staff are reporting back that there's anywhere between 20 and 30 youth that are attending whenever we're there. So it's really, really well attended and a really great location. Everybody seems to be really happy with the new space. So.
Yes, Councillor from Whitewater.
Thanks, Chair. I have a question on the first item. It's just the Mental Health Addictions and Substance Use Health Network. How does that tie in, or can you comment how it ties in with the drug strategy one being run by Public Health and the OHT? Are they just different levels of discussion or focus, or are they overlapping somehow?
Thank you, and through you, Chair. I'll do my best to speak to that. I think it is a lot of the same members who are sitting at these different tables. It's kind of a relaunch or a restart, I guess you could say, of this table. So it is very new. They're looking to draft some recommendations, but I believe the drug strategy may have even come from this table. So it's new for us to be participating in it. I think we've attended maybe 2 meetings so far, so looking forward to just continue to hear what we can get from there.
Yes, Counselor?
Perfect, thank you. And yes, I love being around the table, so this is awesome. The second one, just to add on from Councillor from Petawawa's comments about the youth hub, it seems like a great initiative. What government organization actually runs this youth hub? I know we're supporting it, but it's not us, right? It's not county.
Yes. Yes.
Thanks, Chair, and through you to Councillor Nicholson. So it's the Addictions Treatment Service that runs the Youth Hub. They had applied for a special grant through their Ministry of Health to have a Youth Hub location, and they were successful in getting funding. I know they were among maybe the first 8 in Ontario to get funding for the Youth Hub, and I believe there's some more locations now across Ontario, but they were, this was a new initiative being launched in order to try to connect with youth younger around some strategies and some health supports. And, as Ms. Muldoon had indicated, they started with the Pembroke location with an intention to open Renfrew, and pleased to see that coming to fruition. They do have, a nurse practitioner and some other specialized medical staff that operate out of those locations, and they do share the staff between the 2 locations. So you may access, the nurse practitioner might be in Pembroke, say Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then in Renfrew Tuesday, Thursday. So there's some great opportunities for the youth to connect with some health professionals that are otherwise, more challenging to get appointments with. So it's a great resource for the youth, and we're happy to be there as well and connecting them to some of our programs and services as well.
Yes, Councillor?
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate that. If I could make a recommendation, maybe we could ask if they wanted to come and do a delegation. I'd love to learn some more. I'm also curious, what comes to mind is where the youth populations are exploding, Petawawa, Arnprior, are there plans for this type of initiative, or is there some indication or support that we could offer to replicate a service which you're speaking so highly of in these other areas as well? So, but just to get some additional context, maybe to...
Excellent question. Over to you.
I'll just share, I think at this time I don't know that there's any further plans to open up a new location. However, there is transportation available for youth in closer communities to access. So they do have a bus, and it's just a matter of having, depending on the age of the youth, that parents' permission to provide taxi service to and from the location.
Thank you. Councillor from Petawawa?
Thank you, Chair, and through you, and thanks to my colleague from Whitewater. I was going to ask that question, so thanks for asking it for me. And I understand that you don't have any plans at the moment to open in other communities. Is it the fact that would the community need a hospital and an addiction treatment service within that community for anything like this to happen? Or could that be run through a family health center? I need to wrap my head around what are the parameters for your community to acquire this type of service.
Thank you, and through you, Chair, to committee. It's my understanding that when they were looking to open and determining what locations they were going to be opening in, they did do some reach out to the community and kind of identified those 2 locations as being Pembroke and Renfrew, just based on the responses that they received and where the youth kind of chose for themselves that would be the most readily able centers to access, I guess you could say.
Yes, Councillor?
Follow-up?
Please.
Okay, thanks, through you, Chair. So it's great that they're providing transportation, but sometimes, it's not always that convenient, and some of the communities are rather far away from Renfrew and Pembroke. So in order to establish something like this in our other municipalities' home communities, is there a process that the communities can, get the ball rolling? And I'll just use Petawawa as an example. We are exploring opening a youth center. So should that take place, and if it does open, it would be a nice fit to have this addiction treatment service counseling within this new youth hub or youth center. So if I could just get an idea of, is there a process, first steps?
Yes. Yes, please.
Whoever wants it. I'll take that one. Thank you, Chair, and through you to committee, although I'm certain Ms. Muldoon could answer as well as I could. But I just wanted to indicate that I feel pretty confident to Mr. Nicholson's point that Kim McLeod, the Executive Director of ATS, would probably be really excited to have the opportunity to come as a delegation, provide more information, and I can certainly extend the invitation on behalf of this committee and also give her some of the questions in advance that we're hoping that she could speak to around, what you were indicating, Councillor Service, around, a youth center and whether there's partnership opportunities or an opportunity for expanding some of their services. So certainly take that away and ask her to see if she could come and share some more information with this committee.
That would be great, thanks.
Thank you. I just want to make one comment about the Mesa gathering. It was a day like no other, and I just can't say enough. I think everybody walked away on a cloud. I really appreciate the kind of time and determination it does to get everybody there and thinking together. I appreciate it very much. I believe now we will go to Children's Services Division. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know I was supposed to end with you. All right. Yes, Councillor.
You don't have to end with me. You can keep going. Sorry, I just wanted to come back to item number 4 and just compliment staff on this type of outreach initiative and being that glue that binds people together. That's exactly what I was hoping for, and I'm so proud to see that we're right in the middle of it and mixing it up. So thank you, and look forward to more of those.
I think many people would agree with you. Now can we go on? I think we can. We're going to move to Children's Services Division information. Ms. Smith, please. I believe you have a video for us.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to committee, good afternoon. The Children's Services report can be found on page 18 of your electronic packages, and I have 2 information items. Information item number 1 is the Pathways Park video. So we have a short video that was shared with us by the staff in the preschool room at Kids Castle Killaloe, which is one of the licensed childcare centers run through the Community Resource Centre in Killaloe. The video demonstrates just one example of the amazing work that is being done in the childcare and early years sector within the County of Renfrew, and it certainly made our entire team smile, so we wanted to share it all with you. If you don't mind, Tina.
Pathway Park. The place where we can explore. It's good weather and we have fun. We wake the big shits every day. The fitness drill helps me move our bodies. We can take breath. We have a tour every season. We can recount different animals. And you walk through the reading too. Pop. I so like good to have you and your bye guys.
Thank you, Tina. I think mission accomplished, just judging from the smiles around the room. Information item 2, Renfrew County Leadership Exchange event. So Ms. Dombrowski and I attended the Renfrew County Leadership Exchange event on June 5th at the Best Western in Pembroke. The event was hosted by Community Living with the intention of connecting leaders in various sectors across the county to network, build partnerships, and discuss common themes and opportunities to better serve the residents of the County of Renfrew. And with that, Chair, a very short report, but that concludes it.
Thank you very much. I really think we should show that to the whole council. That is just too good to be true. Do we have a mover and seconder to adopt the report as a whole, please? Moved by the councillor from Killaloe, Haggerty Richards, seconded by the councillor from Whitewater. All those in favor? Thank you. Carried. Now I need a mover and seconder to move into closed. Moved by Counselor from Whitewater, seconded by the Counselor from Petawawa. All those in favor? Thank you. Now. Thank you. I believe that the next thing on the agenda is the date of the next meeting will be Wednesday, August 14th, 2024, and we have agreed to be meeting at Miramichi Lodge that day, I believe. And we're there all day, or I'm there all day. I don't know if everybody else is. And now a motion to adjourn. Councillor from Killaloe, Haggerty, Richards, and the councillor from Whitewater. All those in favor? Thank you. Thank you for your patience.